Benny was not just a dog. He was family, a shaggy golden retriever with eyes that seemed to understand everything, sorrow, joy, even silence. For 13 years, he had been Sarah's shadow, from the moment she rescued him as a trembling, half-starved puppy from the side of a country road. Sarah had been 19 then, freshly moved into a new town for college, lost in her own storm of anxiety and homesickness. Benny had become her anchor. He was there during late-night study sessions, failed exams, heartbreaks, and triumphs. He was the first one she told when she landed her first job, and the silent witness when she cried in the dark, missing home or mourning a lost friendship. Over the years, Benny grew older, but his love never faded. His steps slowed, his fur turned silver around the muzzle, and he no longer jumped at the sound of the doorbell. But his tail still wagged every morning when Sarah whispered, "Good morning, old man." Then came the vet visit, the one every pet owner dreads. Sarah had noticed he was limping more, struggling to stand, breathing harder. The vet's eyes were gentle, but the words were final. "His heart is failing, and there's not much we can do. He's in pain." Sarah didn't want to believe it. Not Benny. Not the dog who had saved her from loneliness and taught her what unconditional love really meant. But denial couldn't change the facts. Every day, Benny grew weaker. He stopped eating his favorite treats. He couldn't make it outside without help. Then came the moment Sarah had known was coming but still couldn't prepare for. "I think it's time," she whispered one morning, her voice cracking as Benny rested his head in her lap. He looked up at her, eyes tired, but full of that same loyal warmth. She called the vet. They scheduled the appointment for the next morning. That night, Sarah didn't sleep. She curled up on the floor beside him, crying silently, running her fingers through his fur. He was so light now, so fragile. She wanted to remember everything. The way his ears perked up when he heard his name. The way he chased falling leaves like they were treasure. The way he'd curl into her chest during thunderstorms. Morning came too fast. Sarah placed Benny gently in the back seat of the car, wrapped in his favorite blanket. As she drove, tears blurred her vision, but Benny's head rested calmly on her arm. They arrived early. She had one request for the vet. "Can I take him for one last walk?" It wasn't really a walk. Benny could hardly move, so Sarah lifted him in her arms and carried him around the park they used to visit every Sunday. Birds were chirping, children laughed in the distance. She sat on a bench and held him close, letting the sun warm his fur one last time. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "You were the best part of my life." Benny looked up at her, as if to say, "It's okay. You were my whole life." Back in the sterile room, she stayed with him. The vet was kind, patient. She held Benny's paw, whispered every memory she could think of as the injection was given. His breathing slowed, then stopped. Silence. Sarah sat there long after he was gone, unable to let go. Her heart felt split open. Weeks passed. The apartment felt hollow. No soft paws, no wagging tail, no gentle snoring. She couldn't bear to put away his bowl, his leash, his toys. His absence was everywhere. One rainy evening, Sarah came across an old voice memo on her phone. It was a recording of her singing badly to Benny on his birthday. She played it, and in the background, she heard a bark, his bark, and then her own laugh. She cried again, but this time, it was different. It wasn't just grief, it was gratitude. Because Benny had taught her that love, real, unconditional love, doesn't end when a heartbeat stops. It lives on in memories, in the quiet moments, in the way you find yourself smiling through tears. A few months later, Sarah visited the shelter, not to replace Benny, no one could, but to offer love again. In the farthest kennel, a timid black puppy with wide eyes stared at her, just like Benny once had. She knelt. "Hi there," she whispered. The puppy crept forward and gently licked her fingers. It wasn't a new beginning. It was a continuation of the love Benny had started.